Hi guys. So today, hi guys. This is Apollo for your Media Cast team. Today we'll be talking about women's rights in the medical field. My name is Naya Hernandez. I'm a freshman here at Paulo, and these are my co-hosts.
Hi, my name is Rocky Martin. I'm a sophomore.
I'm Brianna Rivera. I'm a junior.
I'm a Ladies Calderon. I'm a sophomore.
Disclaimer: the views and opinions shared in this podcast are nobody but our own and do not reflect the staff or admin at Paulo. So, anyways, guys, women's rights in the medical field. Do we feel that like women get treated differently when they become doctors, or like when they become doctors, or when they show up in hospitals with the, like, do people take them as seriously?
I feel sometimes no. I feel like they think that they're not certified because they're a woman, or they'll mess up, or they're not required to.
They don't have what it takes.
Yeah, they don't have what it takes to help, or anything that certifies them.
All right, what about you?
I personally don't know that much when it comes to like the medical field and views and stuff when it comes to that, because that's not personally a field that I've looked into a lot like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that like I'm not sure if it's still the same nowadays, but like back in the day, it was more of like women weren't taken as seriously as doctors, but like they were like kind of more of seen like belittled into like nurse positions, like they can't handle all like the big surgeries and like stuff like that.
Yeah. What about you, ladies?
I feel like they do get treated differently.
How so?
I feel like if, like you said, like the nurses when they end up in the hospital, I feel like they do get treated differently. I feel like they get a little bit, like they treat them a little bit better just because they know they work there and stuff.
Yeah.
And not like other people that come in from outside.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So when it comes down to patients, right? All right, scenario. Say a woman walks into a hospital and she's just like, hey, I'm having really bad stomach pains. It hurts. Like, I'm having really bad stomach or chest pains. And then a doctor goes through all their normal questions and asks if they're on their cycle. And they say yes. Do we feel like they'll just go to blame it on the fact that they're on their period instead of actually looking in to see if there's a deeper cause or stuff like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not really tapped into it, but I feel like in some cases they'll just take the short way around it and just be like, write them off as you're on your period, and you don't really have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it happens too late to the point where
it could end up in casualties.
And casualties is sometimes it could be like an abdominal bust, pancreas. It could be anything,
Yeah. What about you?
Just real quick to clear it up, are we talking specifically about women in the medical field, like as doctors and nurses, or as patients?
Kind of both. Okay. Just how they're treated generally, not genuinely. Currently, patients.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think like what Rock said is like they seem a way to like take the easier way out, just simply write it off as like, oh yeah, you're on your period. It's normal things, and then we notice things too lately.
Okay. So my question is, do you think that doctors take guys more seriously when they get into the hospital, because it takes a lot more for a guy to actually like tell the truth when he's talking about pain, because men are supposed to be strong and they're supposed to like have high pain tolerance and like this, that, and the third. And when it comes down to women, it's just, oh, you're a girl, of course everything hurts, or that kind of thing.
I wouldn't say they take it like, I wouldn't say that they're like immediately, oh, you there's something wrong with you for a guy. But I definitely think they're more lenient to it. Like they'll definitely be on the side of a guy.
Or more likely to take it seriously.
Yeah. I just feel like some guys just come in with worse injuries sometimes, because they like, a guy wouldn't come in for like, a stomach ache or something like that. I feel like most guys would come in with like, injuries like broken arms or something.
What are you trying to say? That we're extra?
Are you trying to say that women feel too much?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a trap. In my
yeah, we would love Daryl's opinion.
I do have opinions for days.
Oh, always.
Okay, so I'm a classroom instructor. Hey, I think it depends not just on race or gender sometimes. I think they break it down, and I mean, it doesn't necessarily depend on gender. Let me put it like, that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Now, I've never been a woman, so I can't speak for women.
Of course.
However, when I look at, say, the mortality rate amongst women, if you break it down by demographic, I think that's how you can pretty much gauge how they see people within the medical industry. When you look at infant mortality rate, I think that you can use that as a gauge when you look at the data to see who's at the top of that data and who's at the bottom. So I would say look at it that way. I know I can only speak, being a Black man, I can only speak, when I go to the doctor, the first thing they ask is, do you do drugs? Have you ever done street drugs, cocaine, heroin? And I'm like, I've never done drugs in my whole life. So it's varied. I don't think anything is clear cut as being strictly race or strictly gender. I think a lot of it has to do with who you are, what your background is, your class status. I think all those variables come into play.
So apparently, we were wrong. Between ages of 15 and 40, death rates for men are usually 2 or 3 times higher for rates for women. Between ages 15 and 40, death rates for men are usually 2 or 3 times higher than death rates for women. Which it makes a lot of sense because I know just by having, like, I grew up in a family with brothers. I can see that sometimes they're in pain, but they're not going to talk about it because it's not like really bad pain. Well, I know that from both of my moms, like, they could be in pain and they could just be like in a lot of pain and just like cancel their whole day plan.
I feel like
Is that sexist?
Kind of.
A little bit.
I feel like a woman will go to the hospital just for the illest things. Like,
are we just against women in this?
No, it's not being against women.
Nah, it is.
It's just like, I feel like, for example, women would just go to the hospital just because their head hurts and it has been hurting all day and it has not gone away, even if they drink pills. But if a guy's head hurts and he drinks pills and it still hasn't gone away, he's not going to go to the hospital.
Just going to tough it out.
Exactly. So I feel like women just...
Do we feel like men are sometimes afraid to go to the hospital because they're going to be perceived as weak?
Do we feel that men are monolith and we can make a sweeping generalization?
No, but I'm just saying, as like, if we're keeping things relatively what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Let's just go with loose. All right. If we're keeping things like inside of the box, I know that a lot of men like are toxic masculinity. Do we think that has a play?
Only if toxic femininity has a play.
Exactly.
Or a role in this.
Yeah. Like, do we feel that has a role when people go to the hospital?
I think when we're on public platforms, I think we have to be careful in terms of the sweeping generalizations that we make, because all men are different.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, everybody's different. And when it comes down to toxic masculinity, it depends on the circumstances, the variables, who's thrown on the label toxic masculinity and who isn't. So if you judge me from the outside, if you see me one time, you say, oh, he's oh my God. And I've had people do it.
Yeah.
He's like so toxic and he's into that masculine stuff. And it's like, well, nah, father of 5 daughters, you can't afford to be. You know what I mean? You have to learn to give and compromise. So
it's kind of like how people could look at Rock and be like, "Oh, damn, he's like 6 foot."
Big black. He's a big black dude. We heard about black men. You know, they're all toxic. They're anti-LGBTQ.
Yeah.
There's so many things when you make a sweeping generalization, but it's like he could be the softest, nicest. Some of the big dudes I know, some of the nicest.
Which he is. Rock is like one of the nicest people in this school.
That's me.
that sounds like a you thing.
I seen your eyes light up when I was talking. What were you about to say?
About the whole black situation that you had said.
Yeah.
I feel like bringing back the hospital situation.
Yep.
When a man goes into the hospital and they are dark skins, I feel like the first thing that people think is like, oh, they do this, oh, they do that, oh, they do this. But when they see a black female go into the hospital, oh, they don't do nothing. Like, it's just like they do. Maybe they do think that, but I feel like they think about guys doing it more than females, if that makes sense.
From my personal view, over the time where I was sick, I was out for a couple of weeks.
Mhm.
When I went to the urgent care, they didn't try to help me at all. I was in the waiting room for like almost 6 hours, and they didn't. I checked in about 2 times. My mom was just fed up, and then we tried to go to the Bay State Hospital, still couldn't get nothing, and they wouldn't help us, and I was just like I felt like I was dying.
That happened to
Yeah.
me when I was going through a rough time with my asthma. I went to Bay State a lot of times, and there was this one time that I went to Bay State, and they had me there for 6 hours. Didn't give me no treatment. I was I was in a room, but they didn't give me no treatment, no nothing. And
I feel like
my
that's how it always is in hospitals. Like, um, the way they do it, even if you are there and you are showing like symptoms of everything, you're still going to have to wait a while. And I think we all have personal experiences where we had to wait in the hospital for about 10, 11 hours at a time. Like, I've been to the hospital with my mom where she's having like one of the worst asthma attacks of her life, and she had to wait like a good 3 hours. I've been in the hospital for myself because I had gotten into a fight with somebody and a teacher slammed me against a fence, and like my rib cage was hurting, and I didn't get seen for like a good 7 hours. Yeah, basically, because she was trying to pull us apart, and she like kind of threw me, and I like ended up against the fence. Yeah, hurt my rib cage, and I
But
was like, and I was
like
in there
to
for like a good 7 hours.
dang. I'd like to add on to something.
Of course.
A black woman 5 times more likely to die from pregnancy related cardio
Cardiomyopathy.
cardiomyopathy. I can't.
Which is
Cardiomyopathy.
Yeah, cardiomyopathy, blood pressure disorders than white women.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because, so I know, well, not personally. So I know that for a lot of Black people, it could be difficult to be trying to get into the medical field because people don't take them as seriously because they could be like, oh, they're Black, they grew up this way. Like, obviously, they're not prepared for this. They're not ready to do this.
Yeah.
Well, they see a white person and just like, oh yeah, they're obviously wealthy. They know what they're doing. Like, they're here for business, and that could be very difficult. So when it comes down to a patient, it could be like, oh, how could they know?
I feel like they don't only think about that. They don't only think about Black people that way, but also Hispanics
Yeah,
and other
Yeah.
races.
Hispanics is
either
definitely a
that
big
or
one.
like the language barrier in certain
Yeah, I feel like
hospitals.
sometimes they'll try to like trick them into
I'm
something.
not even gonna say the language barrier without even you can be Latino and not even speak Spanish.
Yeah.
The minute they see
Yeah.
your last name, you get placed into a category. And that's
Mhm.
scary. So you go to get medical assistance and you write your name down. My name is Daryl Vargas, and all of a sudden they look at you completely different. And it's like, so which makes it difficult. And it's like not discarding the gender issue. The thing is, when you walk into a room, the question is, what do people see first? Do they see your ethnicity or do they see your gender? And in 2023, with gender being so fluid,
Mhm.
What do they see first?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do they deem human and what do they deem less than human? Because that's how, in terms of medical assistance, when he talked about the COVID pandemic, there was huge articles in every paper about how is that going to impact the Black and brown communities.
Yeah.
Because we're not stupid. We do know that when we go to seek medical attention, I was going to say earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up. Have you ever gone to the ER and you look around, you see all the people sitting in misery in the ER chairs? They do have some whites, those lower class. That's what class
Yeah.
comes in. But typically, if you have someone coming from Wilbraham or Long Meadow or Southwick, are they being treated first? We don't know because we don't take the time to measure that stuff.
I felt
And those are the things we need to do.
Not only
me being from where, I definitely when I was living aware with my mom and I'd come down here to Bay State, I'd definitely get in a little bit quicker than some people. I definitely think because my mom, she's not like the most tannish or darkish. She's definitely like your skin color, your complexion.
I'm pale.
Yeah, my point. We definitely get in way quicker, like way quicker.
So
Not
Like-
only those, not only about race, also like what you are. Like I feel like homeless, they don't like to treat homeless people because
Not at all.
and
They-
especially like Black homeless people because they're gonna automatically think, oh,
They're on drugs.
Yeah, they're on drugs. They're just
like
they're
they're going
psycho.
through withdrawal. Like
Yeah.
that's
My
what's
brother
going on.
that I lost last year to cancer, and he was in the hospital for about a month. They actually did nothing on him. You know why?
Because he was homeless.
No, he wasn't homeless.
Oh.
He owned his own home. He had a college degree. They assumed he was homeless because he lives up in the hills of Pennsylvania. So we couldn't get down there to support him. So when he arrived on his own.
Yeah.
So they just made the assumption. So we finally get there to find out what's happening. Like, well, him being destitute. What do you mean destitute? Well, isn't he homeless? We're like, hell no. He has a home. He has a home. He works. He has kids. He's been to college. And they were like, oh my God. And you should have seen the turnaround in attitude.
Yeah.
They make, when you walk through the door, they make assumptions about who you are and what you are. He walks in without his mom. He's 6'2", got the, the high top, scrubby hairdo. First thing they'll probably assume is, he may be a gangbanger.
Yeah. It's like he's violent.
Let's put him over there, have contact security, have them keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
So when we talk about race, gender, class, and those conversations can be so subjective at times.
I feel like there's a very thin line between all of those kinds of conversations.
Very, very, very
where
thin
sometimes if you feel like you're going to go over, you'll stop talking about the things that matter because you're afraid to say the wrong thing.
Right.
But at that point, it's important to have a conversation with people that who you're talking to, will understand what you're saying so that they can correct you or they can help you get through what you're trying to say so that you don't say it offensively or you don't say it incorrectly, or kind of just how I was helping him out through the word.
No, absolutely. And I'm agree with you. And I say, even if you don't have the data and you have a sense of what you're saying being right, say it anyway, because everything we say is going to offend somebody.
All right.
So never worry about offending. Let's just say it, because that's why we're here. It's a social justice school. We put it out there and let folks either prove it right or wrong. Make sense?
Yeah. Anyways, guys.
Shut up, Daryl.
Sorry.
I'm offended.
Anyways, guys, that was the bell, so we have to go. It was great talking with all of you, and bye. Have a good day, I think, or night, evening.
Toodles.
Wherever you are.
Yeah,
Bye.
wherever you are, whoever you are, just have a great day. Bye, bye, guys.